Hello everyone and welcome to part 3. I'm going to talk about history now. Before I do, I want to talk about history itself. History is not some forgotten event or events in the past. History affects the present in a good or bad way. Choices made by individuals and groups ripple across history. Their good choices leads to a bright present, their bad choices leads to a dim present. Future generations feel pride or shame depending on what choices people made in the past. The choices we make as individuals or as groups will affect the present for future generations, and their choices will affect the present for their future generations. Before the invention of writing, humans would orally transmit historical events from one generation to the next. Cultural practices would also be orally transmitted from one generation to the next. A major risk of oral history is that a single natural disaster can erase an entire culture's past. Without written documentation, no record remains for the future. Another risk is people can lie when passing down historical events orally. Imagine being a young child in a tribe. Your tribal elders could be telling you that your ancestors fought heroically against dragons to protect their tribe. There's no way of knowing that what they are saying is the truth. Unless there were pictures or video footage, you cannot be 100% sure. A child's mind is very impressionable. They will most likely believe everything that they are told. This is the same after the invention of writing. Just because something is written down does not automatically guarantee truth. Every historical event and person should be questioned, and a fair analysis should be done. You should never stop questioning. Historical sources can be primary, secondary, or tertiary. Primary sources are first-hand accounts created during the period being studied. This can include diaries, letters, government records, photos, videos, newspaper reports, maps, films, paintings, artifacts, tools, clothing, coins, buildings, recorded interviews, or first-hand accounts passed down through speech. Secondary sources interpret, analyze, or summarize primary sources. This is history books and documentaries. Tertiary sources compile and consolidate information from primary and secondary sources without adding new interpretation, such as indexes, encyclopedias, and bibliographies. Primary sources can have bias, political or personal. For example, a written record from an era could be praising a monarch who lived in that time, even though he might not deserve that praise. Secondary sources like history books can have bias as well. For example, certain historical periods can be glorified or demonized by historians with personal or political bias without giving a fair analysis to the period. Certain sources could be left out to reinforce a certain narrative. The picture on the left shows ancient Greek inscription on a stone, which is a primary source. The picture in the middle shows a history book, which is a secondary source, and the picture on the right shows an encyclopedia, which is a tertiary source. Kaifeng in the Henan province was the capital of the Song. In the parkland of woods and streams is a place called Yuantai, the platform of King Yu, a terrace covered with pine trees and a cluster of temple buildings. There is a temple dedicated to King Yu the Great. Legend says Yu stopped here to organize the local people to build the terrace above the floodplain. In the shrine in the main hall, you can see King Yu wearing a yellow dragon robe and holding a green jade tablet, a ceremonial gift from the supreme deity to mark his work in making the world fit for human habitation. You can see Yuan Tai on the left, and you can see a statue of King Yu on the right. The Book of Documents, also known as Shangshu or Shujing, is one of the five classics of ancient Chinese literature. The Book of Documents is a primary and secondary source. The Book of Documents is primarily a collection of speeches, proclamations, and political institutions attributed to rulers and ministers, reflecting early Chinese governance, moral philosophy, and statecraft. According to tradition, it is believed to have been compiled by Confucius. I will explain who Confucius was later in my presentation. There is a controversy surrounding this book. There's the modern text, which is the surviving core of the book. During the Qin dynasty's book burnings, the original text and many of its copies were destroyed. However, a scholar named Fu Sheng hid and preserved 29 chapters of the work, which were written in the script of the Han Dynasty. This became the modern text version. Decades later, a pre-tin script of this work was allegedly discovered inside the wall of Confucius's old estate. This old script version featured additional chapters that the modern script version didn't. For a very long time, scholars debated which version was a genuine one and which one was a fabrication. Long story short, the modern text chapters are generally viewed as authentic historical documents. Let me get back to you. Yu's story is mentioned in this book. This book was written centuries after Yu died, so bear that in mind. Yu's story is also mentioned in the records of the Grand Historian of Sima Qian and other sources as well. Yu is the person who helped to deal with a great flood. The story of Yu is summarized as follows. Yu worked for his father for 9 years, rebuilding the dikes and dams, channeling the Yellow River. Then Yu continued the work for another 13 years, until his hands and feet were covered with calluses. Calluses are hardened, thickened patches of skin that form as a protective response to repeated friction and pressure. Although he was newly married, on 3 occasions when he passed his own door, he didn't enter his home. The people were suffering, so he could not rest. In the end, the king was so impressed with Yu's diligence and effort that he passed the throne to him rather than to his own son, knowing that Yu was familiar with every part of the land because of his tireless work to protect the country from the flood. Yu accepted and divided the land into 9 provinces, and with the bronze tribute he cast 9 Ding tripod cauldrons. These were placed in a temple to the west of here at his capital Dongfeng under the sacred mountain Songshan. We call that place center of heaven and earth. After Yu died, his son became the first king of the first dynasty. Castings of the 9 Ding vessels, intended for the ritual preparation of food during feasts for the ancestors and deities, were passed down through the early dynasties. Until recently, the Yu legend was believed to be pure fable. The discovery of a 9th century BCE bronze vessel with an inscription describing Yu's deeds is worded in a way so close to the later Yu texts in the Book of Documents that it proves that the canonical story was well known at the start of the first millennium BCE. It is no doubt a Bronze Age tale. The Bing Gongshu, dating back to the 9th century BC, contains the earliest reference to King Yu. In 2016, a scientific study found evidence for an ancient megaflood outlined in the Legend of Yu. The findings were published in the Science Journal. This flood is believed to have happened around 1920 BCE. They found evidence of a landslide along the slopes bordering the Yellow River in the Jishi Gorge. A gorge is a narrow valley between hills or mountains, typically with steep rocky walls and a stream running through it. Sediments from this landslide contained a jumbled mix of green schist and purple mudstone grains, which was also found 25 kilometers away in sediment that filled earthquake fissures at the La Jolla archaeological site, an earthquake damaged site famous for preserving the oldest intact noodles. Green schist, a type of rock found in the mountains, and mudstone were uncovered at sites along the Yellow River. The sediments appeared in layers much thicker than normal for the Yellow River, indicating they had been deposited swiftly by a massive flood. An earthquake caused a landslide, which collapsed into the Jishi Gorge. This created an earth and rock dam roughly 200 meters high that completely blocked the river. The earthquake also destroyed the Lajaya archaeological site. After 6 to 9 months, the dam was breached and the water that was built up traveled 2,000 kilometers downstream. The Lajaya site was filled with flood mud. This was one of the largest freshwater floods of the past 10,000 years. They used radiocarbon dating, which I spoke about in the last video, to carbon date the remains of the 3 children found in the Lajaya archaeological site, which was devastated by the earthquake, then washed over when the dam broke. The date for the children's remains was 1920 BCE. The date of the children's remains coincided with the date for the youngest charcoal found in the flood sediment, so the Great Flood definitely happened. But did you exist? Most historians believe Yu didn't exist. Their reasoning is that the earliest written records of Yu appeared 1,000 years after he died. No records from his lifetime exist. The flood would have devastated the region, requiring massive coordinated human efforts to control the water. Scholars believe that the legend of Yu likely grew out of genuine tribal engineering projects, with the memories of real-world leaders whose names we don't know eventually merging into the singular heroic myth of you. The picture on the left shows an shows a page of an annotated Book of Documents manuscript. The picture in the middle shows the Bingong Shu, and the picture on the right shows skeletal remains excavated from the Lajaya site. This is the Jishi gorge that I spoke about. Later written histories say that the first king of the first dynasty was a son of Yu, whose name was Qi, and the date is generally to what roughly corresponds to 1900 BCE in the modern calendar. A dynasty is a sequence of rulers who belong to the same family. Before the Shaya, the throne would be passed on to the most capable person. 17 Shaya kings are named by the historian Sima Qian, who, writing in 100 BC, had assiduously gathered early written and oral traditions. This dynasty was long considered to be a myth. However, now it is considered to be a semi-historical dynasty. The Shaya dynasty was formed after a mega flood. The flood was proven to have happened roughly around the same time the dynasty formed. The Shaya dynasty didn't leave behind any written records or inscriptions. This dynasty was mentioned hundreds of years later during the Zhou dynasty. Tradition said that the center of the Shaya kingdom was in the plain near the confluence of the Yellow River and the Loire River in the original Central Land, the region of Luoyang, where several later capitals stood in the Li of Songshan. The Alita culture could possibly be the Shaya dynasty. The culture is named after the Alita site in Yangshi, Henan, discovered in 1959. Other sites associated with this culture have been found in multiple places as well. The Alita site covers roughly 3 square kilometers and is considered to be the capital of the Shaya by Chinese archaeologists. This archaeological site contains multiple palatial complexes, including palaces 1, 3, 5, 7, 8, and 9. Also, bronze smelting workshops were found here as well. Radiocarbon dating of the site suggests that it was occupied approximately between 1900 BCE and 1500 BCE. Traditionally, historians had dated the start of the Shaya to approximately 2000 BCE. The Chinese government-sponsored Shaya Shangzhou chronology project adopted the date as 2070 BCE. The flood happened around 1920 BCE, so if the Alita culture is the Shaya, then the timeline for the Shaya is pushed forward by 2 centuries. There is still ongoing debate on whether this culture was the Shaya or not. In about 1550 BC, the Shaya were conquered by a neighboring people who called themselves the Shang, the second dynasty of China. The picture on the left shows the geographical extent of the Shire. The picture in the middle shows Loyang. The picture on the right shows a bronze artifact excavated from the Alita site. I will end this video here. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to press the like button. Leave your comments down below. Correct me if any of my information was wrong. I probably pronounced all the Chinese words wrong again, so I apologize for that. Share your own insights into what I spoke about. If you haven't subscribed, please do and press the bell icon so you're notified whenever I upload a new video. And I will see you guys in the next video.